Welcome to Unfiltered and Unstoppable with Romesburg. Real strategies for real advisors, a podcast that dives into what it takes to scale a thriving financial practice. Each week, we'll discuss actionable strategies, tools, and insights to keep you ahead in today's financial landscape. From innovative products and powerful marketing tactics, you'll get unfiltered truth and unstoppable strategies. Let's get started by building your unstoppable financial practice today.
All right, everyone. So welcome to Unfiltered and Unstoppable, real strategies for real advisors. This is a podcast that pulls back the curtain on what it takes to build and scale a thriving financial practice. I'm your host, Rob Romesburg, and each and every single week, we are going to dive into strategies, tools, insights, everything that you need to stay ahead in today's fast-paced financial landscape. So everything from innovative product solutions to smart marketing and prospecting tactics. We're here to give you real, actionable advice that works. So whether you're looking to grow your business, streamline operations, master the art of client relationships, you're going to find the unfiltered truths and unstoppable strategies that you'll need right here. So we're going to get started today with a special guest, Mr. Brian Lucius. Mr. Brian Lucius and I have known each other for over 20 years. Unbelievable how fast time will fly, but
It makes us sound old, Rob.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I don't think it just makes us sound old. I think we are old. I think we've reached that point. But yeah, so we've got a great show today. The whole point of the show today is going to be talking about specifically annuities, like where they're at today. Why are they such a important part to a client's portfolio, and what does it look like? Oh my gosh, we heard rates are falling. How is that going to impact everything from sales to solutions to, oh my God, I can't have an income rider anymore. So where do we go from here, man?
Well, I think that, the first thing we talk about annuities is we start talking about the technical aspects of income riders or caps or performance or indexes or all the stuff that you and I and advisors think is cool, right? But I mean, do the clients know what any of that stuff means?
Unfortunately, they don't.
No.
And that's the thing, right? Like, how are they going to actually be able to go through the weeds and understand that?
Yeah, and I don't know how my car works either, but like I know what I want it to be, I know what to look like or what I envision using it as. So I think that's part of the disconnect with annuities is from a financial advisors, for most of them, let's just say, they didn't grow up in a government job or big company or corporate world where their paycheck hit every 15th and 30th,
Yeah,
right? I mean, where did most of
right.
them grow up? How did they grow up in the
Yeah.
business?
So like the financial advisor in the business, is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
So most of them started out in the world of like I'm trying to learn Medicare supplements and
Yep.
trying to learn life insurance and just kind of progressing from there.
Right, like a career agency sort of thing, and it
Yeah.
was like that you got recruited in with a class of 20 people, develop your, magic 100 or whatever, call your friends and family or however, and sink or swim. Now, you got good
Yeah.
training platforms along the way, I'm not saying they didn't, but you were on the commission life where sometimes you got paid, sometimes you didn't. There's a different mindset from a business owner or entrepreneur's mindset than what a person who has had a job their entire life's mindset. So let's take, that person who worked at XYZ Corporation and, he was a accountant, had a good job. And you took his wife, who was a teacher for most of the time, took some years off while their kids were being raised, kind of the standard, retired couple, if you will. You can probably picture the people I'm talking about.
For sure.
So they, their entire life on the 15th and 30th, cashed their check, right? And they've always made good money, but did they make more money than they could possibly spend, or did they spend less money than they made?
100% spent less money than they made.
Right. So their mindset is a
Yeah.
conservative by nature. That's how they got across from you. That's why they're sitting in front of you. They were savers. The spenders don't get there, right? So they come up to retirement and they have 300, 400, 600, 700 million dollars, somewhere in that net range. And they're saying, man, I retire in 3 years. And the advisor says, well, gosh, you got $700,000. Does that person know what $700,000 means to them?
No, not at all.
No. And largely, where does that get stored up? Where's the big bulk of that come from?
Pensions.
Yeah, pensions, retirement plans, 401ks, something, whether pension or 401k, which is just kind of a different version of the same thing. They've, by no fault of their own, saved money, and they've been conservative, live below their means. Now they have this big pot of money and they're freaked out, and they want you to, as the advisor, to turn that big pile back into what?
Income, paychecks.
Give me a paycheck back, right?
Yeah.
And generally, it's not as much as I can spend. It's like, I just want to make what I made in retirement, or what I made in real life in retirement,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
So we get caught up, I think, in, getting more technical on riders and caps and indexes and how they work and why they work and doublers. When you simplify it and you find what the people really want, it's just the safety that basically not losing money provides, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. And that, and really that's the goal, right? Like, how do we make sure that they are comfortable in retirement? And, kind of, I guess, what's interesting about that particular era versus today is that, that era, they were fine primarily with the one car and the one home, and they just wanted to make sure that they were taken care of.
Agree.
Whereas today, our era and a little younger, like, we need the 19 flat screens in our house. We need the newest iPhone, and we probably have 3 vehicles, and God, we just can't understand why we're struggling.
Yeah. It's very, very true.
Yeah. We're just not being paid enough. That's exactly what the problem is.
Well, and I think, that comes from things that are available to you too. Like, I mean, you look at we're going to date ourselves, but we already said we know each other for 20 years. People already know how old we are. But when I was 20, I didn't live in an apartment that looks like the apartments I see today. They got pools and fitness centers. Yeah. I didn't have DoorDash. One of us had to drive to McDonald's to get food, and it was, cheaper to do that. So convenience has played a large part in that. But the folks that, to that point, they never spent money like that. Maybe they did in a different version. We just didn't live that life. Either way, as they come to retirement and you turn that paycheck on, they almost restrict their spending more, because living off of a definitive number and watching that go down, even though that's what it's designed to do, is almost a more uncomfortable feeling. So I think, getting caught up sometimes in I guess, let's take one of the objections of annuities people have as well. There's not, as much upside in them. But I would argue that they're not looking for a pile of upside. What they're looking for is not a pile of downside. And if they can catch a 3, 4, or 5% interest rate, and they've got enough money saved up, life's going to be pretty damn good, and they don't have to worry about it.
Yeah. One last point I'll add to the era of people is, I started out in the business offering long-term care, and one of the objections that I'd always heard in that era was, well, I live on a fixed paycheck. I live on a fixed income.
Mm-hmm.
And this was always retirees that I was speaking to. So to continue on with the point of paycheck, and oh my gosh, these annuities, these rates are going to fall, and I'm not sure we're going to have any opportunity. Well, are we able to help them live comfortably in retirement? And are we able to provide them an income that they're never, ever going to be able to outlive? That's what we're looking at.
And that's where I think, excuse me, that's where I think it comes in handy, is that I'm not sitting here saying that annuities are better than investments, or annuities are better than stocks or ETFs or whatever. I'm saying it's part of a plan. Yeah. And if you can lay down the base of income or the majority of their income using Social Security, either whatever pension they have or don't have, and annuities or something that doesn't lose money. We can come back to that. Something that doesn't lose money. I know that I can give that they'll never be broke in life. And that's one of the biggest things, everyone says, well, their fear is outliving their money. I don't know that it's necessarily outliving your money is like you're going to go broke one day. Outliving your money is that you have to make drastic changes to your lifestyle because you don't have the money to do it. And that is usually not on people high on people's interest level.
Yeah.
So when you get back to that not losing money, you've got a couple other options. You have CDs, you can sit in your checking account, whatever. But annuities, specifically indexed annuities, in my opinion, give you the best of both worlds where you do have that downside, can't lose money, but you can catch a decent interest rate along the way to keep up with inflation and keep up with everything you're doing.
Yeah. And that's, once again, that's the solution part of it. Are we able to help on the emotional side of it? But at the same time, we are obviously a firm here that believes in all sides of the money as well. So where do annuities come into play? And even though we've had some interest rate cuts here recently, we are still seeing fantastic opportunities right now and fantastic rates. I mean, with the higher interest rates that we have right now, the opportunities are unlike anything that I've ever seen in doing this in over 20 years. And I guess the generic example, but very real life scenario that we use to explain where we're at right now is if you take a look at mortgages, right? One of the things that everyone knows with a mortgage, you refinance when the rates are low.
Right.
Well, you do the exact opposite with annuities. So with the current interest rate environment, it's still higher than I've ever seen it.
Mm-hmm.
We are in a very advantageous opportunity right now to be able to secure very favorable rates for our clients. And I don't care if we're talking about accumulation only contracts, income only contracts, the hybrid accumulation income, whatever the case may be. We are just in a fantastic environment right now.
I would 100% agree. And the thing about it is people will say, well, what if rates come back? What if I buy today's annuity? And maybe I upgraded from the old annuity I had. What if rates come back down? What happens to that policy?
Yeah.
And the people ask the same thing about mortgages. Well, I'm not going to buy a house till the rates go back down. I get news for you.
Yeah.
They're not going back there.
Yeah.
As much as I'd like them to,
Yeah.
they're not going back there. So you also have, and maybe it's something you can get into if you want, but they talk about rate and renewal integrity. And there's, certainly with the innovative products that are out today that weren't around 10 years ago, there's ways to guard against, carriers' renewal integrity, so to speak, and make sure that your rates are in a good spot.
Yeah. Yeah. So, unlike anything that I've ever seen, at least on this level and with as many different options, we are seeing more and more fixed indexed annuities that offer guarantees. And when we talk about renewal rate integrity, one of the things that I might be concerned about is I go into a contract right now that has a very high rate. One of my concerns, and through experience that we may have suffered through, is, oh my gosh, what's the renewal rate integrity? Like, we're at a very high rate right now. What's it going to look like next year? Well, my point to that is there are so many opportunities now with these indexed annuities that have guaranteed rates, meaning whatever cap you go in at, whatever participation rate you go in at, those rates are guaranteed for the life of the contract. And man, when you talk about upside potential and being able to lock in these favorable rates for the long term, once again, talking about what, like you just said, taking advantage of the low interest rate environment that we saw 5 and 6 years ago for mortgages, it's the flip side on the annuity side. Now you want to lock in these high rates on the annuity side. And when you could take a look at these annuities that have the rates that are guaranteed for the contract period, count me in, man. Those are some of my new favorite opportunities. So definitely.
And I think that's, maybe a lesson to, anybody who is looking at selling annuities, sold annuities in the past, currently selling annuities, is you're going to have something in your mind that is, well, this one time, or, I've had bad experiences with rates being dropped, or bad experience with fees being increased, or whatever the thing you've dealt with, most of our insurance carrier partners have built things to guard against what consumers were, whoever did that 10 years ago, it's a different company than it is today, right? And
Yeah.
it's different landscape, different world than it is today. So if you have concerns like that, that's where you want to call us and talk through, okay, here's my concerns. How can we alleviate that? We may not have the perfect answer for it, but there are certainly a ton of innovations last even 2 years that have guarded against a bunch of things that would have maybe deterred you or concerned you with selling some of the products.
Yeah. And along those same lines, the the presentation tools that are available right now, as compared to 10 years ago, are so much better than what we've seen in order to help the average prospect have a deeper understanding of the importance of annuities and how they do fit into a portfolio, along with these high, unbelievable rates that we're seeing. I mean, the opportunity is now. Unfortunately, the rumor on the block is the Fed's going to be dropping rates one, maybe two more times this year,
Mhm.
and two more times potentially next year. So, I mean, when you talk about the door is closing, I mean, the door is closing. The opportunity is today.
Yeah, it's certainly going to swing shut a little bit, but it's in you're going to be in a good place either way. But I agree with you. If you are a fan of high rates on products like that, there's no better time than now. Now, when you go back to, as a part of the portfolio, I think that's the end of that story we're talking about where Bill and Mary, retiree, had the annuities, have their social security, income's pretty good there. Maybe we're augmenting a little bit from an investment account. Now, that person still has investment money, no matter what. Like it's suitability, fiduciary, all those things. Like they're going to have some money invested somewhere, and that money we know is going to go up and down. And the nice thing is it's going to go up and down. When it goes down, are Bill and Mary going to be concerned?
Well, not if they're properly allocated. No.
You'll end up having to explain that to them, right?
Yeah. Right.
But
Yeah.
first, they're going to
100%.
be like, "Oh my God,
Yeah.
what happened here? My investments are down," which gives you the ability to say, "Okay, understand. Let's sit back down and review the plan and how this is set up because that money over there, Bill and Mary, you're not spending anyway."
Yeah.
So we all know the market will go up and down, but eventually, which way does it go?
Yeah. It's
It
all going
goes,
to
it
go
goes
up.
up.
Yeah.
If you let it do what it's supposed to do and you keep your hands off it and keep your attitude out of it,
And
the
your
annuities and
emotions.
that your emotions.
Yeah.
And if you can keep your eye on what the goal was, which was your income, over here is your market money that you don't seem to be spending anyway. If you want to, go ahead. But really, their kids are going to end up inheriting it. So you're almost investing it more in their kids' time horizon than you are Bill and Mary's. But that goes back to the emotional point. And we've been a sponsor for Dalbar quantitative analysis of investor behavior, which I'm surprised I just actually could rattle that last part off there.
Impressive.
But talk a little bit about that and what that study shows.
So the study, what's interesting is I think we've provided it now for 10 years
It's been a long time.
at least 10 years. And it's the same thing every year.
Yeah.
just just the numbers are a little different. And it didn't matter that those that were 10 years younger are now 10 years older, and those that aged into the group to be studied, it didn't matter. It was the same response from each of those age groups, and they could not get their emotions out of the way, meaning they always underperformed to the market.
Yes. It was like 17 pages, third party, Dalbar, quantitative analysis, investor behavior, research upon research, and you could have summed it up in one sentence or people are their people are their own worst enemies when it comes to their investing because they make poor decisions based on emotion. So back to that same thing, you as their guide in using annuities as the tool to baseline the income, protect the assets, and give them what they really want allows you to also place money in the asset category and let it do what it's going to do, managing their emotions. Although they're going to have them, you re-explain how the plan is set up, and it kind of gives them the best of both worlds.
Yeah. That was kind of the joke every time it was released. We're like, oh, what's it going to say this year? Is it going to be any different? unfortunately, we as people can't get out of our own way. And the most basic fundamental rule of investing is to buy low and sell high. Unfortunately, that's just not what we do. We do
No.
the exact opposite. We just can't be disciplined enough to stay out of our own way.
So I mean, I guess that's where it goes. I guess point number one in our episode here is use them to manage people's emotions. Don't always feel like you have to sell them on the upside and the gains, because that might be something that interests us more than it interests Bill and Mary. So get to the root of what they're really trying to talk about. Now, let's transition off of emotion to the technical side of annuities. What are you seeing, Rob, as the kind of hottest chosen designs, indexes, time periods, riders, no riders? What are you seeing out there?
Yeah. So speaking of technical, one other thing I'll add to that is, one of the ugly things that we've always heard about annuities is they have surrender charges.
Mhm.
And oh my God, they have a 7-year surrender charge or a 10-year surrender charge. The Dalbar study actually goes through why that's a good thing. And why surrender charges are a good thing are essentially to protect us from ourselves, to protect you from yourself. Meaning, when the market's going, oh my God, gangbusters, I got to take my money out and I got to throw it in, and I'm going in when it's high. And the flip side of it, like, it's also protecting me from taking out too much money when I probably don't need to be as well. So there's just so many different things to where you take a look at annuities to be able to protect one from themselves in regards to the market and the volatility of the market. So now beyond that, so what are we seeing? I touched on it earlier. Are these indexed annuities that are coming out with the rates that are guaranteed for the contract period. So we recently have a 7-year contract and a 10-year contract that we are big fans of, that have really strong accumulation strategies, 100+% participation strategies, and they're also very liquid. 10% free withdrawal starting in year one, and these aren't like anything that we've ever seen before. And our advisors are very excited about that, because what we're talking about is the falling interest rates. We're going to be able to protect the client and those rates there as well. But yeah, big fan of those locked in contracts.
What about what are you seeing, since you live in, more of the technical world of this too, on indexes? When rates were low, there were all these hybrid indexes out, which I think some are great. Most are great. Then there was kind of a resurgence over there, kind of back to the S&P 500. Where has that all shaken out, in what you're seeing on a day-to-day basis?
They're
With
still
index
coming out.
operations?
They're still, yeah. We still,
No shortage?
yeah. So we're seeing a lot of innovation there, and with that innovation does allow for uh, more potential for the client, which is something that we are excited about. But also, there's a great deal of education that's being provided with these indexes, showing why they're innovative and why these are indexes that we can be confident in. More importantly, the client can be confident in. And when you see these indexes today, I mean, some of them are getting as creative as being involved with AI and with many of these other technologies that are available. And it's interesting to me how many phone calls I'm getting now from an advisor that says, "Hey, do you got anything that's somehow connected with AI?"
Yeah.
And so it's just things like that take off.
Yeah. And I do, it does provide a good set of diversification for a person too. I
100%.
don't even know if you have to, some might want to get overly analytical on them. For me, I just look at it as I'd rather have my eggs in a few baskets in these things. And again, I'm not trying to get wealthy with these. I'm just trying to hit steady first and, second base hits.
Yeah.
So it's good to provide choices. Back to that topic on innovation. What is fascinating about that, where the indexes keep coming out, is the investment banks are almost the ones that are trying to put them out and get with insurance companies to get them in, which is, I would say a nod to the annuity industry that 10 years ago, I don't know that Wall Street was overly interested in indexed annuities. You didn't see private equity owned annuity carriers or private equity purchasing annuity carriers or hybrid indexes or all, they had no interest. In fact, it was almost something that I would say the majority of the financial world snubbed. If I, this is unfiltered, right, Rob?
Yeah, 100% unfiltered.
So, and we battled that back in the day, now you look at it and the private equity companies and it's not bad that private equity owned. I mean, they're building businesses in private equity. That's what they do. Not bad if it's an IP, privately owned. I don't care how it's owned, but the fact that New York Wall Street has looked to these products has brought I would say, a different view than what was historically put on annuities, which the blend of how they were designed and how they worked from the people that are still at these carriers with the modern day thinking of some of the Wall Street banks and firms, I think is what really given these things the lift that they need. Plus, the fact that everybody's paying attention to them now means that somebody somewhere sees that these are a valuable tool out there.
Everything that you just mentioned 100% speaks to the creativity to what we're seeing with the indexes, but also the creativity that we are seeing with the annuities as a whole. And that's where these specific carriers that I'm talking about, that they are affiliated with many of these firms that you mentioned,
Mhm.
and that's I mean that is a very bright future. At the beginning of this, where I was painting kind of this doom and gloom. Oh my God, interest rates! But
Yeah.
I mean, the indexed annuity world is so bright, and now more than ever, so many more opportunities, and that's very exciting.
Yeah, in fact, we talk to lots of different companies, investment banks, things like that all the time. And some of their questions are, well, are annuity sales just good this year because interest rates are so high? Well, I would say that's a tailwind, right? I mean, it helps.
Sure.
Well, then when they drop, they're done, right? No, because you look at the innovation happening in the industry, you look at the advisors' offices that we go to. We talked about that yesterday. Is it used to be 10 years ago that in a just standard kind of independent advisor practice would be 2, 3 people. Now you're getting more 5, 10 people offices, multiple advisors, the sophistication level, the technology they're using, the planning reports they're using, the practices that are utilizing index annuities are not having to struggle competing against the standard brick and mortar
Yeah.
shops anymore. In fact, they're taking business from them. And that is an exciting thing for the business too.
Yeah, and it just I don't think that um, the people on the outside looking in regards to annuities quite understand what a phenomenal solution they are to an overall portfolio, meaning making sure if you are correctly allocated, like the rates are important, yes, that we do want strong rates. However, they are also such a strong part of the portfolio from the safety measurement of it, the safety balance of it, to where that, yeah, yes, we are wanting the strong returns, but more importantly, this part of the portfolio needs to be safe, and we want it to outperform the bank,
Right.
and that's really what we're looking for.
And that's, I think, part of some of the old school thinking is it's like, obviously we have an investment business, we have an annuity business here, and people will say, well, tell us about the investment business, tell us about the annuity business. It's like, that's not how it works.
Yeah.
It is the financial services business is how it works. Stop looking at it that way. You bring the consumer in, you listen to them, you do proper fact and feeling finding. You as the advisor are putting a plan together for Bill and Mary, right? It's your grandparents, it's the same people you deal with and live around all day long.
Yeah.
You're using these tools. It could be 20/80, 40/60, 60/40, 80/20.
Yeah.
It is not this side and this side. The old days, I do believe, of being a one-trick pony, be it investments or registered rep or insurance agent, those people are getting less and less, and the true advisors are coming through, and they're the ones winning, and they are the ones that 10 years ago you would have hoped your grandparents ran into. And
100%.
today they are living up to that, and not only living up to it, but exceeding at it.
Yeah. What's interesting is I very recently brought on a insurance only agent, and throughout our conversations, of just kind of getting to know one another. I brought up, the RA world and the Series 65 and Gradient Advisors, and my man almost jumped through the phone like, "Don't bring that up again." Like,
I'm
never
not
going
taking a
security.
test.
Yeah, that I'm staying out of that securities world. That there's no interest here. Okay, well, like I respect that. He recently, so that was 3 weeks ago, and then 2 weeks ago he attended our New Generation University. He called me while he was there and goes, "I was wrong." Like it was mine. I've never had that happen before. That extreme,
Yeah.
like in such a short time period. But the fact that he immediately flipped the switch, which I was very thankful for, because this was someone that I like throughout conversations. I thought, man, this guy's got like does such a great job. He's got such great potential. And then when he put that wall up, I thought, man, don't do this. But
Mhm.
then when he saw the light and I heard him and he called me the excitement, I was like, awesome. This is the guy who I thought you were.
There he
Like,
is.
this is great. Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah, right. Yeah. Um,
Yeah, and I
but
would say, I mean, that's a good, comparison to the same thing an advisor runs in with Bill and Mary is don't you're there to give them the proper advice,
yeah,
right? And in listening to their, like I said, goals and objectives and putting a proper plan in place and showing them how that plan works, that's all part of it. You being able to offer all situations to include annuities if you're only investments or to include investments only annuities puts you on a different playing field because you do have the suite of tools to use.
yeah,
You beat all the one trick ponies out there, but it might take some of the same thing you're talking about where they're pushing back on one of your recommendations where you should hold firm and be confident in what you do and do explain to them, look, based on what you told me, this right here is a good plan and a good idea.
yeah. 100%. And that's what it's all about, right? Like the plan, not the product. It's not about whether we have the hottest products, right? It's about whether or not we've got the best plan or the best systems and processes. And that's really what we want for the end client.
Agreed. And that's I do think using those, using annuities in the plan allows those people. And that's the beautiful thing about income planning, retirement planning, this lane that these advisors live in is that story of Bill and Mary. One works at a good job here and there. One works, a teacher, government, whatever it may be. That person is everywhere. And
Yeah.
so the prospecting that's not a hard message. That person I talked about, I mean, hell, half the listeners, grandparents or parents are probably Bill and Mary, right?
Yeah.
They didn't make 10 million bucks. They weren't the CFO of,
Yeah.
Pepsi or whatever it may be. Everybody's parents live that way. So it's simple message to be able to prospect out. Now prospecting is not exactly simple. It's
No.
it's simple, but it's not easy.
Yeah.
But that message is there. So you got to get the message out, then show it. Now the planning with annuities takes care where that helps you manage their emotion, helps them live really the life that they want to live. And you knowing as the advisor, you need to talk to people like Rob and understand the caps, par rates, and which indexes are out, which terms, lengths, and your concerns on income riders, no income riders, all those things.
Yeah.
Bill and Mary need to know you got their back, and here's how.
Yeah. Well, hey man, it's been great chatting with you today. You have any last minute thoughts here?
You know, I guess I really don't. And all the objection things, to your point too, of people are going to have objections. Don't take them as they're not interested. They're just asking questions. Surrender charges is a great one. Bill and Mary lived with surrender charges their whole life with their 401k. Why did you
Yeah.
not take a withdrawal? Well, it's got a penalty, 10%. Like if I wanted to redo my kitchen, it costs 50 grand, $5,000 penalty
Yeah.
plus taxes, but I'd paid them anyway. So don't,
Yeah.
it just explain things to them the way they work, but look at today's annuities, look at any objections you've had or bad experiences, talk to people like Rob, get the ins and outs. You're the coach and financial quarterback that they're looking for. I would say you put the right plan together, use the right planning tools, get out there. There's no better time to be in the annuity business than there is today.
Love it, man.
That man, appreciate you having me on the first episode.
Let's go, man. Let's keep it going. I look forward to having you on again. I don't know how soon. We'll just keep rocking and rolling this. But folks, just appreciate you tuning in here to the Unfiltered and Unstoppable Real Strategies for Real Advisors. Our whole purpose for this is to make sure that we are here to help you to build and scale a thriving financial practice. And hopefully, we're able to do that through all of our tools and resources that we have here at Gradient. So, as always, let us know how we can help. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, Rob.